Hello Internet, this is LordMaddog, and today we're coming at you with another tutorial for my SOULSLIKE project. And last time we added a hexagonal build, here we are, a hexagonal build to the game, and I found out that the hard way that I had to make a new type of build type. So it would enable me to actually use the hexagonal the way I needed to do. I thought I could originally just move it over and have it, but I had to actually make a brand new hexagonal system for each one, which means I had to go back through all my base blueprints to enable them to use it. So I went here and I had to make a base blueprint, edit the base blueprint here. You see I have the north hexagon and the south hexagon, and I had to add them into here. So if I come down into my thing, I can see south hexagon. And if I were to add a static mesh to it, we can add the hexagon and you will see that it's in the right location. Yep, there's south hexagon, and then you see right there, that's where south hexagon will spawn. And I only have one left that I have to do, I haven't done, and that is the wall. So we're going to go ahead and do the wall hexagon. And I'll show you exactly how to do that, because that way we can basically pick up where we left off last time. We see here we need the hexagon pie. We're going to come into our viewport. We're going to come up here to the top. We're going to go, so this will be our north box, I think. North box, yes. North box, and this we will also have a, what's the other box? It's north and, what's this box? I got to collect it there. North-south box. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. So in north box, we're going to go ahead and click on this. We're going to add a scene. We're going to call it north hexagon. And then add to it a static mesh. So this is basically so we can see where it's at. Gone. Right, here's our fancy floor. And we would want to move it up to where it would need to be. But to make this easier, I think it would be easy just to take a north wall. So we can find the north ceiling. Yeah, ceiling ramp. No, that's north ceiling ramp. We're just north ceiling. Why is it, where's the north ceiling? South ceiling box. North ceiling lock. There it is. We're going to copy this. Copy. I'm going to come back to the hexagon. I'm going to paste it here. That basically gets me on the right level, and the only thing I have to do is go back. So if I'm right, this would be minus 456. 455, 355. No, it should be 455, shouldn't it be? I think it should be 455. We'll just type minus 455. No, well, that's not right. Maybe it's 445. I have to look at the other ones. Nope, that's definitely not it. So we're just going to try to eyeball it to where we get to where I think it's going to be. So if I look at the other ones, all the other ones are back. We're going to go here for like the base ramp. No, we'll go base triangle floor. And we will south triangle floor. We'll look at it. South box, south hexagon. And it's back 500 units. 554 units. So I would think this would be along that level, but it's not. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go ahead and actually add a static box to my floor. That way we just make sure that everything is going to be kind of looking together. So we don't want to put this where if I put it here, the floor won't match up to it. So we're going to go ahead and find the north ceiling floor, add a static mesh. We're going to add the floor, fancy floor ceiling curve. Here we are. There we are. That's exactly where the fancy floor ceiling curve comes. So it comes all the way to the middle of the thing. So we're going to just move this thing back to it matches exactly. So, it's 345. That's perfectly fine by me. There we are. It's now perfectly lined up. And that's exactly where we want it to be. Left and right, I think, is right as well. Might, let's see where the floor is at. Nope, that's good, that's good, that's good. So you see here's this is the floor, and we don't need it anymore as our reference. I think we don't need it. No, we don't need it anymore for our reference. Let's make sure, just move it. Yep, okay. That's perfect, is perfectly right. We don't need that floor as more as a reference. So we're gonna come now that we have that place right, we're gonna take my hexagon north, we're gonna come in here, north hexagon, drag it into here. We are going to look for north box. There it is. That's what we're after, all the way at the top. Doot, doot, doot. And we're going to just take the hexagon, north hexagon, and connect it to here. Now we need to do the same for the south. But since we already know the measurements for the south, all we're going to do is basically reverse them. So we're going to copy this, copy, and just Control V. So north, south. Did it again. I hate when it does that. Loses my scene's name. South, north, south, hexagon, hexagon. Make sure this doesn't have any transform. Now we're going to take this one and we're going to go boom. And there we are. We now have done with the south as well. They kind of overlap. Did they do that when did I have that overlapping when I was doing the floor? I'm pretty sure I must have, but we'll just to make sure, we'll go ahead and delete this one for now and add back the south, north, south. So we're looking for north, south ceiling block. We're going to add the static mesh because I'm just trying to make sure everything's lined up here with all my other settings. Because if everything is not, what will happen is that you'll have weird overlaps or weird gaps. So what is going on with this? That's where the north-south box was? Well, I'm going to say that's wrong. North-south. Oh, that's the box. That's the box, not the ceiling there, north-south ceiling location. There we are. That was my fault. Okay, so we're just going to remove the transform on this now. There we are. Yeah, that's actually kind of lines up. It's not. That's 400. So, okay, so that would also mean my hexagons would probably be at 400 as well. It's 400, so I got to make sure on both of them it's at 400. North hexagon, more north hexagon. Where's it at? Trying to find things in this can be a little bit hard. North hexagon, that should have been 400 as well. It's almost 400. There we are. North repeating. Make sure that's not have any stats. And so where's the connection between these two? Yeah, they overlap ever so slightly, which I guess is fine. You're not going to see that in the settings. So we'll delete that. And we're going to delete the floor reference as well. And we're just going to take our north-south hexagon, bring it into here. We're going to find north-south box, north-south ceiling box. We're going to take this into here and plop it into there. And now, since that was our base wall, that means all the other walls should be affected. We're going to jump in here and just test it out. As you see, when I spawn in here, you can see I've already been testing things out, making sure everything's just fitting. We're going to go ahead and open up the hexagon box. Doop, 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 doop. Hexagon. Now, if I bring it up here, it's a just plop into place on top of any of these walls. Yep, that looks like pretty good. Now, since these walls are, since I have the things built down beneath it, not walled wise, but I'd have to actually, to make this look nice, I'd have to come back and go with a triangle and match what was on the floor. So on the floor we have, what's this down here? Is that oh, that's actually a square. Okay, so I'd actually have to have here, line that up with that. We need to hit build anywhere, because it's overlapping ever so slightly. There we are. And then we can switch this to the hexagon, and it'll be just like the one on the floor. Where's the hexagon? There. And then I would be able to build another, what's on that? That's a triangle. So we'd have a triangle right there. And then I think we have a box underneath. Am I headed the right way or headed the wrong way? There it is. And there, we can refill out the bottom floor and we can make a second floor just like that. We're not really using the hexagon thing we just did, but I already set everything else up. So if you come back here to hexagon, there we are. There we'd be following out how this one worked for the hexagon. But yeah, that's pretty good. The floor, it seems to be basically, this roof seems to be basically where I want it to line up to everything. If we were to build this, it'd probably make it perfect overcast. I have to jump up there. Ugh, come on, buddy. Nope, not the window. The roof. I have to set my jump settings. What cost? There we are. There we go. And build. As you see here, since we got everything all lined up, everything's lining up perfectly. You can't really see flat gaps in the floor. It looks pretty nice. Now, if I had a world aligned texture, right now it's just textures are UV mapped to this thing, but if I had a world aligned texture, you would not even be able to tell these little gaps, which eventually, if you wanted to do this, you'd probably want to have world aligned textures for each one of your materials. Right now, I'm just using the base UV map textures for everything. But yeah, that's pretty good. Now, there are a few other things that we can talk about for building. I think pretty much the only other thing that I haven't covered with building is like activated objects. So my base activated, there's a base light, which is basically kind of the base activated. So we'll just go ahead and click on the base activated light. So in here, when it gets turned on, we'll go event graph, interact start, and we'll just go over exactly what this does. So this is my event graph when it gets interacted. So the master blueprint has this key, has this custom action in there. All of them have this, but none of them have anything connected up to them except for the ones that actually have things that you can interact with. So this is basically an activatable. So this is base light, same thing with the base switch. And you can just go over the blueprint here, but it's pretty, event graph. It's pretty much simple, very simple. So it'll check if it can be interacted with, and obviously these can be interacted with. And then it'll go, is interaction on? If interaction's not on, it'll turn it on, and then it'll go through and do what it needs to do according to each of the blueprints. This up here, this up here, event interact, is called on load, and it'll check if the build is done. That means it's been auto placed there, and it'll delay for a second. It'll turn it on and turn on the light. So basically what this is, it'll load and save your settings, whether or not you have the lights on or what you have the settings in the system. And this event deactivate happens when the player destroys the object. So if you have a light and the player comes along and or an enemy comes along and destroys the light, it'll automatically deactivate the light and it won't be on anymore. So that's pretty much it. Really easy. It's just on start load. So it'll get the actors that can be loaded. Yeah, I'm not going to go into all that, but basically it's how it gets whether or not it can be turned on during save and load system. As you can just look over these codes, each one's going to be a little bit different, but basically they're all run off the event interact start. And I think that's actually everything except for maybe the plant. The plant one is a little bit different, but it just take the base plant. And in the base plant, I have a tutorial for this on how to build plants, base plants. I'm not going to redo another one. I should probably also copy it and bring it down here into the SLCS stats. But if you just run through this blueprint, it's actually pretty Well, it looks complicated, but it's not. Well, maybe it is. I'm not. It's hard to tell whether or not something's complicated to everyone else. But basically, for a plant, as it ticks along, it'll have an array of plants that you can each stage of the plant. So you go to each stage of the plant, and it'll allow you to select each stage. So if you want to, as it grows, it'll switch to these stages, and while it's in between these stages, it'll actually shrink and grow each stage. So each stage, you just got to kind of get them to the same size and reverence. And now the chaos mesh works now. That works now. Before, you were not able to at runtime change chaos mesh settings. Back in 5.2, yeah, 5.2, you were not able to change the chaos mesh at runtime. Now, however, you can. So this is, you just easily change your chaos mesh to match each one of your stages. Typically, you want to have about six stages to each plant. You don't have to, but typically you want to have about 6 stages to each plant. That way you can see the plant actually growing, and you don't have to change any of these settings in here except for full growth time. This is one you're going to want to change how long it takes to grow to full growth. So this is 100 seconds for 100 ticks, over 100 ticks, and each tick is currently set in my system, my blueprint system here. My data game instance. We'll come to here real quick. We'll go, I think it's an event graph. There's here, plant growth. Here it is. Each tick time is 1 second. So basically 100 seconds, it'll have a full growth item. I'm going to change this to be 15 seconds. So that way it'd be like 15 minutes or something along that lines. But this is basically for testing. So instead of 1 second, you can change this. Instead of really changing each one to change how fast you want things to grow, you can obviously change the full growth time for each of your plants. But basically, you probably want to be using more along the line of changing the time it takes to grow full. So here it is. At 9 seconds a tick, a base growth time of 100, it takes 15 minutes to grow a plant. So at 9 seconds a tick. Okay, so instead of 1 second, you want to change it to 9 seconds, and it'll take 15 minutes to grow a plant. Or you could change that to 10, which would take you, however, do the math for that. And I do believe that's pretty much everything there is with my build system. Let me run here quickly through everything. I think that covers, yeah, that pretty much covers absolutely everything with the with the building system. If I did not cover something, or you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. LordMaddog, signing off.